So I think I'm inspired to try to do every hours we do 5 minutes, right? So there's many methods to go into calm abiding, but I think for those we practice some tantras. So you see, we have this gross body, subtle body, and very subtle body. So in the subtle body, you have the central channel, and then the right channel and left channel. So in Tantra, you have that explanation that why you have a scattered mind, because the wind flows in the right side of your body and you're irritated, you have irritation, impatience, because the wind flows on the left channel in your subtle body. And if you're able to bring the wind energy in your subtle body inside the central channel, then all the desire and irritation disappear. So by manipulating the energy in your subtle body, you can control your state of mind. So I found it very effective when I sit down to start with the 9-round breathing. I just do it once or twice and it brings the wind clack. It centers, and then from that state of mind, it becomes very easy to do calm abiding meditation. So one can do it the elaborate way with the help of the hand, but one can also do it simply with the visualization, right? So I'm quite a lazy guy, so I just do it meditating. But at the beginning, I used to do it with the help of the hand, right? So, but also with time, your visualization and the capacity of your mind to follow something with your mind, becomes better. So you need less support of the hand, I think. Also, I think, so the important part is not the first and the second round, is the third round, where you actually imagine bringing the energy inside your central channel. So that's the part when one focuses on and try to bring the mind inside the central channel, because you see the mind there is more subtle, and if one is able to do that, the subtler the mind you have, the less it supports gross thought and gross emotion. The mind becomes too subtle for this gross state of mind to function. So merely by controlling the energy in your body, you can control your state of mind. So in highest yoga tantra, basically by bringing the wind inside the center channel, you stop the manifest mental affliction. You cannot have any more mental affliction if your mind goes inside the central channel, right? And then you use this calm mind of bliss to focus on emptiness, right? So then you try to remove the mental affliction from the root, right? So, but in terms of calm abiding, it's we'll do it together, and then you see if it's something that can be helpful for you. So, of course, when you other people, you don't start, making all these mudras, kind of like that, but you can do it in your mind, right? But just the first time is good to do it with the hand because it shows you where the energy flows, So usually one does the Vajra fist, so-called. So you put the thumb below the ring finger and you make a fist. Yeah. And then the upper side of your hand, on your left hand, you put against your body and you block it, right? So you don't put it like that, but you put it something uncomfortable, the other way, right? So this is supposed to block certain channel that produce agitation in your mind, right? And then with the index, you basically you block one nostril after the other, Okay, so now you start by blocking the left nostril, and then you so the inhale, so you exhale, and then you inhale slowly and deeply. And then once you have inhaled, you keep the breath in 5, 6 seconds, like it's comfortable for you. Then you put the finger on the other side and you block the right nostril, and then you exhale through the left nostril. And you do that 3 times. Inhale to the left, exhale to the right. So when you inhale, you imagine inhaling light, and that light pushes the dark, dull mind out, so you bring the light down and you hold it down, and then when you exhale slowly and deeply, like, like you push something, so imagine that the light push out the darkness and the mental affliction, the agitated mind, all this you exhale your agitation, your emotion, yeah, all everything you exhale. So you inhale light. The light can come from space, can come from the heart of a Buddha. You know, you just inhale light. Or from the heart of your guru, wherever, or the deity you practice. You inhale light. You hold it a few seconds. So if you want to do it a little bit more elaborate, you imagine a central channel that goes from the third eye to the top of your head and down in front of the spine. And then you visualize 2 side channels going from the 2 nostril up to the top of your head and down on both sides of the central channel to 4 finger width below the belly button. And there, the 2 channels, they cross. And so you imagine the light energy going down and crossing over and going out on the other side, right? And then to the left, crossing over other side. And when we do the third round, you imagine inhaling through both nostrils together, right? And then you push the air against each other and you hold it there, and that pushing together produce some kind of heat. Like if I put my 2 fingers together and I push, it produces some kind of heat, right? So same thing when you push the air together, produce some kind of heat. And then you imagine when you exhale that light energy disperse inside the central channel and your mind absorbs inside, right? Kind of like that. So while doing the 3 round left and 3 round right, so you hold it maybe 5 seconds before exhaling the central channel. When you reach the third round where you inhale both together, so your job is to extend the duration you can hold the breath before exhaling inside the central channel. So the long, it's a little bit the people which do apnea diving, so they can actually hold it 5, 10 minutes, even longer sometimes, those which go, they can hold the breath quite long, right? So when you actually holding the breath and pushing against the eye, already there your mind is more subtle. So the longer you can stay there without being uncomfortable, you try to stay there, and you will notice your mind has much less agitation when you hold the breath. And then you imagine exhaling inside the central channel, and then you repeat. So let's try, as an exercise. So 3 times to the right and 3 times to the left, and then 3 times to. So when we do the 3 times together, the mudra is different. So that's when you do like that. And then when you reach the third round, you put the hand on your knee and you inhale, you make a fist and you hold it. And when you exhale, you open your fist. Right? So that's how that works. Okay. So then you keep on inhaling by both nostril. You bring the air down. You push the two air from the left and right against each other. And there where you feel some heat from the pushing of the two air together, there you imagine an ember or a small flame. And that small flame or ember has three qualities. Is it orange reddish? It has the nature of heat and pleasurable sensation. So imagine a small flame there that has these three qualities: orange red, heat, and pleasurable sensation. And as you exhale, you imagine that you blow on that flame from below. So the air that you inhale through both sides go below that flame and you push it against each other. You hold it there. And then before it becomes uncomfortable, you imagine that you blow on that flame from below and that flame gently rise in the center of your body. So with each exhale, the flame moves a millimeter or two higher. And that flame is actually your mind. So at the beginning, you watch that flame from outside, and then you try to bring your mind inside that flame. Another thing that can enhance that practice is that when you push the two air against each other and you hold the mind there, you squeeze your lower muscle, from the pelvic floor, things like that, and you imagine that you pull up the air from the lower part of your body also towards that little flame. And there, that flame or ember, remember, is orange like a flame of a lighter or matches, and is need of heat and pleasurable sensation, which in Tantra we call bliss. You imagine that that flame is pleasurable, is warm, orange, and that it is your mind. And with each exhale, you imagine that that flame rises in the center of your body. So gradually you make it raise up to your heart. Then you make it gradually raise to your throat. And then gradually to the top of your head. So due to the force of inhaling the wind from the left and right channel, squeezing it together in the center of your body at the navel, and then pushing the air inside the center channel, it makes your mind more subtle, more concentrated. So after a while, the main point of your focus is this navel ember, small flame. Another part of your mind is aware that you inhale, hold the breath, and exhale inside the center channel. And another part of the mind is aware that the flame is rising in the center of your body. And another part of your mind, it tries with the mind to go inside the flame instead of looking at the flame from outside. So if one wants to have a point of focus amongst all that, and would be the center of the navel chakra, that little ember, that little flame there. So that would be the focus. So the main part of the mind would focus on that, and the rest of the awareness would focus on the inhaling, holding the breath, bringing the wind inside the center channel, making the mind enter, and so forth. But the main part of your mind always keeps the attention at the navel chakra. Wherever you feel that warmth, and then that warmth, you imagine it as orange light, and you imagine it as pleasant. So the more you can imagine it as pleasant, the better it is, because the mind likes to stick on something that is pleasant. So imagining it blissful is very important. So once you master it, you see, in a minute or two, you can actually go into deep meditation. See, once you master the process, it's like, making a path. First, you walk through grass where nobody ever has walked. So at the beginning, there's only your steps that you made, and you go again and again, and suddenly, uh, the grass dies out, and it makes a little trail, path. It becomes stronger and stronger. So same thing with meditation. You go the same route again and again, and your mind gets accustomed to it, and very easily get into deep meditation. Do you have any questions about this now, Larry?
Recently, sessions you do during the day, you have 5-minute sessions or whatever. Each of them, you want to do the whole breathing thing, and like I always thought that calm abiding, you just like I like to use medicine Buddha and just focus on medicine Buddha.
That's perfect. That works also. There's hundreds of possibility of meditation. Each one has to find what suits him or her, right? That's perfectly okay. Or one way to do is to do the 9-round breathing to calm down your mind, to center you, and then you focus on the medicine Buddha, right? So,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions about that? Yeah.
Thank you, Venerable. That was a very helpful meditation. I'm curious, integrating that into other practice like a Lam Rim or something like that. Would you do a Lam Rim to set the motivation before focusing on the ember? or use this to settle and then?
Yeah, personally, I do it before, you see, just to settle the mind, and then I do the prayers and so on, right? So, yeah, and for those which do practice Tantra, they can do it in the context of the deity practice, kind of like that. So there's different way to, but basically it helps to settle the mind, right? Because you see, you come from outside, your mind is quite, you've been busy talking with people, driving things. So you come home and you sit down. It's actually difficult to get into silence, to let go of all that straight. Unless you have a great familiarity with an object, it's difficult to let go of the memory of what just happened before. So to focus on this noun breath actually cleans, the mind that thinks about this and that, what you did before. So it cleans, and then on that base, you do one round or two rounds, and then basically you can decide to focus on whatever you want. You can move from that. So, if you find like Larry was saying, he likes to focus on medicine, it's completely okay, right? Or one can meditate on love or emptiness or whatever, right? So it's just a way to settle the mind, right?
When you talk about rounds, the different rounds, you earlier started and said that you do usually one round. Does that mean just right, left, center, or 3 times?
So 3 times, no, one round. One
Okay,
round of three, and then three together. And then usually I stay on the third,
okay. Thank you.
right? So just focusing on bringing the wind inside the center channel, or focusing on the amber,
Mhm.
right?
Thank you.
So, yeah. So one thing that helps, it doesn't matter whether you sit on a chair or on the floor. What matters is trying to have the back as straight as possible. So the straighter your back, the easier it is, So I know some people have scoliosis and a different problem with the back, but at least for that part to be, to have the back straight really helps. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I have to say that this is my first time with your teachings, and I found that to be very powerful for me
Mm.
because with Mother Day coming up, I was very agitated mind,
Mhm.
and that calmed me down quite a bit. So I
Oh, very good.
appreciate the help. Thank you.
Yeah, very good. Thank you. What is nice about it is that actually it's quite busy. You focus on this, you focus on that, and you focus on that. So that busyness at the beginning helps to let go of the busyness of worldly everyday activity, right? So it's a busyness that actually helps you to gradually center your mind, right? Yeah, so I found it very helpful. And then also to work with the vase. So there's many different stages that one can add to it, like what's called the vase breath. So one inhale the air and makes like a balloon in the lower abdomen, and then hold that, right? And hold that. And then when one exhale, one blows that balloon up into the central channel, right? And then also sometimes one can take the energy, the sexual energy, from the sex chakra, and one pulls that up, and that pleasurable sensation that one has from sex, one bring it there and feed it to the inside the central channel. So there's many different subtle there that one can add to it, which actually increase or enhance that experience. But the basic is the same. And my first Kopan course at Kopan in 1979. So Lama Zopa Rinpoche, that actually it's Lama Yeshe that asked us to do. So every morning at 7 o'clock, we would do that meditation, and we were all non-Buddhists, right? So the first meditation, Lama Yeshe called the Amber meditation. You know? I think John might have been there too. So we used to do this meditation in the morning, right? And I found it very helpful. And Lama used to say, we Western like to play with energy, you know. So he found it very effective for us Westerner to meditate like that. And I found it, yeah, helpful to settle the mind, you know, to center it. So if one can, you see, if one can, even if one sit on chair, if one can put oneself in a meditation posture. So this again, you know, it helps to, so that the two thumbs touching together actually opens the heart chakra, you know. So if you touch the two thumb, you see that, well, if you have certain level of awakening of your cellular channel, you see that actually it opens the heart if you touch the two thumbs. And then if you have the two elbow apart from the body, and then you check that you um, how you call those ones? Shoulder, yeah, thank you. So that your shoulder, often we have tension in the shoulder, right? So one moves them a little bit at the beginning so that they are level, you know, like that. And this one, imagine that is up, you know, in your body, and then you gaze along your nose, you know, and you try to have the facial expression of a Buddha, right? You know, the Buddha has the eyes half open, you know. So basically you don't look at anything, but you let light come in. And this is very important, especially at the beginning, so you don't fall asleep, right? So that dullness doesn't come in your mind. And one way to prevent dullness is to have this light coming in through your eyes. And then your tongue is against the upper teeth behind, you know. So this is to prevent saliva from forming. And then you don't grin your teeth, you leave the teeth apart, but the lips closed, you know, kind of like that. So the posture is very important, right? So for example, if you go in a Zen monastery, they all sit very well, right? You go in Theravada monastery, everybody sits properly, right? So it really helps the mind at the beginning. So once you're in samadhi, you know, you can take any posture and you remain in samadhi, right? But to get there, the position is really important, right? And then not to move an inch, right? So the less you move, the better it is to go into samadhi. Not move, you know, nothing at all. So as long as possible, you don't move. And in certain tradition, you put a lot of attention on your posture and not to move. And merely that helps you to get into samadhi, you know, merely checking your body that you're in a good posture and that you don't move. For example, at the retreat I just led in at Vajrapani, there was a lady called Kim, and she's from Vietnamese descent, and she goes to Vietnam. She has a guru, a teacher there in a monastery, and there all the students are able to stay 6-10 hours in samadhi, right? So their training is really to sit and not to move, right? And they have to do, that teacher says you have to do session at least 2 hours long. So in that monastery, they sit together for 2 hours, 4 times a day, right? And he said, and they ask him why 2 hours. He says that actually after 1.5 hour, real meditation starts. In that tradition, so after 1.5 hour, your mind gets detached from the body. Your body disappears, right? So your awareness doesn't feel the body anymore, right? So you enter into the zone and you can basically you can stay from you don't feel your body anymore, you don't have any more pain and you don't get tired, your body has disappeared, right? So it's interesting, isn't it? That his experience is after 1.5 hours that actually, meditation starts, right? Mhm. And I remember the first years in Dharma, I used to go to Bodh Gaya after the Kopan course. We used to go to Bodh Gaya, and there was a Zen monastery there, And every morning at 6 o'clock, there would be a monk there, and you would sit in zazen for 1 hour. That was, so you would go into the Gompa, nobody would talk. There was just a monk there, and so maybe 5, 6, or 10 of us, different people would come and we would just sit there for an hour and then we would leave. That was, the session, right? And sometimes that scary monk would stand up and with a stick, and he would walk around and, go behind you and you weren't so sure because he would slap on one of the older student, but us he never touched, So we sit there. And the other annoying thing is that it was the time of the mosquitoes, right? So you sat there, landing on your nose or your forehead. So and then you let it sit there, and then you let it suck your blood, and then that heavy mosquito was flying up, till the next one came. So yeah. So I don't know, I got very much into samadhi. I was more into mosquito meditation. But yeah, but I like that feeling of coming together and sitting in silence, and then leaving. It was very, very nice, Yeah. It's very, very. So a bunch of us used to go every morning at 6 o'clock, and then we would go to the stupa. So the emphasis on meditation is very deep, in the Zen tradition or in the Theravada tradition. So the posture is very important, I would say. I have a friend that is able to stay 4 hours in meditation, and his main practice is Tumo, right? And he's completely blissed out all the time, completely blissed out, whether in session or out of session, he has that blissful energy all the time. And he says, from his experience, he said, the posture is very important, right? So the better your posture, the better your meditation. And Marpa Lotsawa, he was able to stay, in full lotus and in the seventh posture of Vairochana. And he said, no master in Tibet can even come close to me, even in the posture in which I sit. My posture is best than all the Tibetans. Uh, uh. So I think to make an effort to sit as, you see, when you sit down first, you try to put yourself in the seventh posture of Vairochana. And then you do the 9-round breathing, and then you set, basically, you can focus on anything you want. Right? And then you make short session. Before your mind gets tired, you stop. Psychologically, it's very important not to go more than you can. You stop before you need to stop, right? So if you stop at a point where it's still pleasant, so you have anticipation, you want to do another session, you finish with the thought, oh, I want to do again, right? Whereas if you always go to the point where you're exhausted, then you end with that flavor of being exhausted. So you think about your next session, you think, oh, I'm gonna be exhausted again, you know. So no, psychologically you have to stop before it becomes unpleasant, right? And then you have the wish, oh, let's do another one, you know. You want to see, you know, it's like a plot that develops and you want to see how the next session is gonna be, you know. So I think it's important. And I had a hip replacement a few years ago. So for some years I sat on a chair. There's no difference between sitting on chair or cross-leg. It works as well one way or the other, right? It's just one has to adjust a little bit so that the back is straight. You know, you might have to put a cushion, you know, on a chair to figure it out, you know. So, but because the rest is same, it's just the legs that are different. And it's not the legs, the main thing is really the back straight, right? So that's what's most important. Mm.
Is there any significance or meaning to that we have to put our right hand on top of the left hand?
Well,
or-
I know the Zen do it the other way around, right? The Zen put the left hand on the right. So I think what I've heard is that the Tibetans, the emphasis bodhicitta, the method, and the Zen emphasis the wisdom, the left on top, right? So because the left side is the wisdom side and right side is the method side, right? But so, you know, you can decide I'm focusing on the wisdom side and you put the left on top, right? Kind of like that. So I guess it's individual. You know, for example, you circumambulate the stupa, everybody goes clockwise, right? But it's to emphasize the method. It's nothing wrong to go counterclockwise. That would be emphasizing wisdom, right? But not to make a traffic jam, so everybody goes one way, right? Kind of like that. Yeah.
Why is the ember at the navel?
Uh,
Why is the ember at the navel? What's at the navel?
because it's one chakra that is easy to focus on, right? And is the seat of the heat of the body, is the heat, it's the center of the digestive system, right? And is the, yeah. So for example, in Hinduism, we focus more on the lower chakra, you know, for the Kundalini practice. So Lama Yeshe used to say, if for you is easier to focus on the base chakra, you can do also there, right? So in Tibetan tradition, basically you focus on the navel and then the heat from the lower chakra joins with the heat at the navel chakra and you bring it up. But that's just one method. In different tantra, you have different practice which focus on different chakras, right? So you can bring in the wind actually by any of the chakras, right? It's just in this particular practice of Tumo, you focus on the navel. But certain practice you focus on the heart, other on the throat, other on the head, other on the forehead, other on the tip of the sex organ. So there's many different methods, right? There's not just one method. In this method, it's the navel. Right?
Question on the arms. Is it important to switch the arm? Because I think at the beginning.
Yeah, no, one doesn't.
so
You
you
just
don't need
keep it
to.
on one. Yeah, I know. I saw some traditions. So, for example, I saw some video from some Kagyu Lama, and they change. right? But I've always heard we just keep it on one side, you know. But there might be different, different instruction from different lamas, right? Anything else? Okay. So let's look at the picture of the wheel of life. So I think are the beings here which have never had teaching on the 12 links or on never saw this picture? Please raise your hand. Are there some people which don't know this? Everybody knows? You don't know? Okay, so one person doesn't know. Actually, this picture came about because someone make a very nice present to a king that was a friend of the Buddha. And that king didn't know how to repay the present he had received, from that other king. So he went to ask his friend the Buddha, what could I offer to that person, as a thanks? So that Buddha told him to draw this painting, to make this painting made, and then that king offered that image to that other king, and that king got some, of course, probably with some explanation, and so he got some experience, from meditating on that, and so in most monastery you find that picture being painted on the side of the door of the monasteries. So it's quite common to see that image. Mhm. So this image is called the Wheel of Life, and you see that there's a being that holds the wheel, and that being is called Yama, and Yama is the Lord of Death. So basically, you see, this is kind of the whole picture is a symbolic language. It's instead of using words, it uses picture, it's a pictogram. So it uses images to represent something, right? So Yama, the Lord of Death, symbolize impermanence, right? So the whole thing is within the wheel of, within the circle of impermanent. Everything is impermanent, right? So the whole thing is within the experience of impermanence. So cyclic existence being impermanent, we born, we live a certain amount of time, we die, and we reborn like that endlessly. So everything is impermanent. Nothing lasts within cyclic existence. And that's one of the suffering that samsara is, right? So repeated born, repeated die, and having no control where we end up. Some life we're rich and famous, and some life we're a poor beggar, right? Some life we are healthy, some life we are sick, some life we live in a peaceful country, sometimes there's war, right? Sometimes there's epidemic, sometimes there's good health, etc. It changes all the time, and there's no guarantee what next life will be about, right? It's all completely under the control of karmic imprint that we created in the past and our mental propensity, our habits, right? So outside you see a Buddha pointing the finger to the moon, right? So this symbolizes the Buddha showing the way to enlightenment, to the light, the way to the light. Mhm. And in the center, in the core, you see three animals. You see a pig, a snake, and a rooster. Yeah, sometimes you have to have a little bit, each painter has his own style. So sometimes you have to know, little bit to figure out, So the pig here is not pink, He's so probably he's a boar, Let's say he's a boar, right? So, and usually the boars or the pig symbolize ignorance. So I don't know whether is it true or the pigs ignorant, because they're very smart and intelligent, especially, you know, but maybe boars are more stupid. No, now mind maybe kind like that. I don't know why the pig symbolize. Huh?
Clean, but they're messy.
Yeah, they like in the dirt, right? They like to go around.
That's a pigeon.
John, what's your idea about the pig being ignorant?
That pigs live in a muddy, dirty environment, and that's symbolic of the mind of ignorance.
Of the man being muggy and
Yeah.
when
But pigs and
Dark.
poles are very intelligent.
Okay, yeah. So anyway, it symbolizes ignorance. Yeah, so ignorance, can be, there's many forms of ignorance. I will come to it later. Yeah. So, and then he holds in his mouth a snake and a rooster. So the snake symbolizes anger, right? I don't know whether snakes are angry. One fears snakes, right? So, aversion, aversion, yeah, brings about aversion. And then the rooster symbolizes desire, attachment. So basically out of ignorance, desire and attachment come about, right? So it looks like a pigeon.
Pigeon, John, if you, I think that your group should talk about being a pigeon because they mate a lot.
Okay,
They mate like so much.
Okay.
attachment. John, because that looks actually like a pigeon.
John, what do you think?
I just think a general fowl of some variety of fowl.
Okay, yes, okay, yeah, yeah. Yeah, they have a lot of desire, right? But you could also put a rabbit in that case, right? Yes. Yes, yes, yeah. Yes, definitely, definitely. Yeah. So that's, yeah, I think one would have to understand the Indian context, the socio-cultural context. Yeah, definitely. And then the next line, so you have a black side and a white side. So black side, you have an animal, then you have a preta and a hell being going down. And then you have a human, nasura, and a asura going up. So this symbolize, you see, if you create negative karma, basically you fall lower in cyclic existence. So you go to more suffering realms, and if you're virtuous, you go to upper rebirths as human, asura, and suras, right? So if you're non-virtuous, you end up as an animal, as a hungry ghost, or as a hell being. So that's what's that circle symbolize. And then you have the sixth realm of cyclic existence that are depicted. So these realms can be seen as an actual place where you take rebirth, but they can also be expression of human psychological state, right? So depending on what one feels, how one feels like understanding those. So to start with the bottom, so the bottom symbolizes the hell realms. So hell realms is symbolized, how to say, is where the most sufferings are, right? So often it's depicted the suffering of heat and cold. And so if you imagine as human being, there's many places where human beings suffer from extreme heat and extreme cold and being tortured and so forth. So I think there's humans that suffer quite extreme experience of suffering, right? And then also when one dies, you can imagine that you don't have any body, right? So let's say you have a nightmare, right? So a nightmare can be of extreme heat, extreme cold, or being tortured. And it's created by your mind, right? There's nobody else there. It's just your mind that creates that experience, right? So how does a dream happen is the imprint with your mind, what something let's say you saw, how to say, how you say this crazy movie with a chainsaw, this horror movie, right? Some people liked horror movies, right? I think yes, this kind, yeah, yeah. So as kids, as adolescents, sometimes some people really enjoy, watching a scary movie, right? But then they go to sleep, and then in the dream, these things can, happen to their mind, right? So they see this crazy thing. So basically, you can imagine, a dream that doesn't end, right? So a state of mind that doesn't end, right? A dream that lasts for millions of years, right? So that's the hell, right? So hell is not necessarily a place, is a state of consciousness that you share with other beings that are in the same, that have the same experience that is created by your mind, right? So that's what the hells are. And the main cause of born in hell is actions and habits of anger, hatred, right? So the energy that brings us there is mostly anger and hatred. And then the one on the left is what's called the Preta realm or hungry ghosts. So those have beings there. The main focus is craving, grasping, addiction, how do you say another word? Another word for obsession, yeah, other word. Greed, yeah. Clinging, what else? Craving, yeah. So all this neediness that one has for people or sense object, that, yeah, yeah. So that's what creates the cause. And then the beings which are reborn in that dimension, they have three obscuration. Either the mouth is very small and they cannot, they see food things, they cannot actually consume them because the mouth is small like uh, the eye of a needle, right? So they have the food, they cannot eat it. And other, they can eat it, but it burns, yeah. Basically, they cannot enjoy it, they get sick, it burns them. Probably those which eat a lot of chili have a similar experience as human, right? And this burning sensation. And other people have an outer obstruction. Whatever they see outside is, instead of being pleasant, it looks like sewage or full food or things like that. So they don't even perceive them as pleasant. They have this obscuration that doesn't see things as pleasant. Yeah. So I think the Preta realm are quite close to the human beings because certain lamas can see the Pretas. For example, Lama Zopa Rinpoche was quite close to some Pretas, you know. So yeah, I remember Lama Zopa Rinpoche used to walk with the hand, often like, you know, like holding something, you know, with the hand like that. And I don't know, one of his close friends said, "Oh, he's holding the hand of Preta. He's bringing Preta along with him," right? So I don't know how true that is, but yeah. Anyway, and then he used to make, yeah, wait a minute. Yeah, he used to make offering to the Pretas quite often, you know, with these. So the Preta don't like to see your eyes, or it scares them. So you have to, yeah, protect your eyes, and then makes this offering to the Preta, water offering to the Preta. So when he had time, he would enjoy making offering to the Pretas like that. Yes, Larry.
Here with the human bodies and the animal heads with knives.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
uh, John, do you have an idea what that in the Preta realm there's some one which have an animal head?
I don't know.
Yeah,
Venerable.
yeah, I don't know it. And then the one above that is the human realm. So there you see people working with bulls. You see a horseman, then you see an old man hold a, a corpse being carried, then you see a couple, then you see a pregnant woman or giving birth. Yeah. So anyway, that's a depiction of the human realm. And then above there's seems to be some teacher with some student, you know, studying Dharma or yeah, in a monastery and like that. So that's a depiction of our realm. And then on top you have the God realms. So a god or goddess is playing Veena, a string instrument, and then you see them fighting with some gods fighting with the asuras on the right. Yeah. So that's the asuram, the jealous god realm. And then below you have the animals. Yeah, so that's what's called the sixth realm of. Sometimes you have. So the God realm, you have the God from the form realm and formless desire realm, form and formless realm. So sometimes you have that depicted. Here's just the God realm like that. So basically, out of these three poison of mind of ignorance, desire, and anger, depending what action we create, you know, whether virtuous and non-virtuous, we repeatedly are reborn within this cycle of six realms. Right. So then you have 12 images around there. So which are what we are talking about today, the 12 links of dependent origination. So the plot starts at the right, on top, at the right of the face, right? So there, the first of the 12 link is the link of ignorance, and that one is depicted by a blind man. So there you see a blind man walking with a stick, right? So that symbolizes ignorance. Wasn't there lunch? 12:30?
There's lunch waiting.
Yeah. So maybe we have lunch and then we go into the 12 links after.
Okay.
Huh?
Oh, I just want to say Morrigan from online said that the being with the animal head is that if a predator does find food, they are blocked by a Mara or other being.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Okay, thank you. So yes, it's 12:45. So let's, yeah, before we go into the 12 links, we can have lunch break. So whatever positive energy we've generated this morning by listening, reflecting, and meditating, so all this we dedicate for us to swiftly develop calm abiding, swiftly generate the determination to be free from cyclic existence. May we realize emptiness and bodhicitta very quickly in a very few years, and may we get a realization of the generation and completion stage of Tantra and become enlightened in this very life. And if not, at the time of death, may we end up in a rich enlightenment in a clear light of death. And if not, may we born in a pure land and there complete the path. And then send out countless manifestation in the world to help all beings and lead them to enlightenment because of the merit of this session. Bon appétit.